Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today's Friday, January 11th, 2019. A lot of things to get to today. College football, NBA, NHL. My reaction to some baseball moves that happened last night and this afternoon. Bryce tears his ACL. My picks for this weekend's NFL games and my best bet of the day. Let's start with college hoops. Some interesting results yesterday in the sport. Hofstra defeats William & Mary 93-90 in overtime. Believe it or not, triple overtime. Hofstra 14-3, William & Mary 7-10. Drexel defeats Charleston 79-78. Big upset win for Drexel. They're 8-10. Charleston's 13-4. Delaware defeats UNC Wilmington 82-69. Delaware 12-6. Wilmington 6-11. Northeastern defeats Elon 81-70 in overtime. Northeastern's 8-8. Elon's 5-13. UConn defeats SMU 76-64. UConn 10-6. SMU's 10-5. Much needed win for UConn, by the way. Cincinnati defeats Tulsa 70-65 in overtime. This was the trap game, and Cincinnati survives courtesy of Tulsa making mistakes late in regulation. Kind of led to overtime, and Cincinnati takes advantage. They're 13-3. Tulsa's 11-5. Quinnipiac defeats Monmouth 89-83 in double overtime. Quinnipiac 7-7. Monmouth 2-14. Fairfield defeats St. Peter's 60-57. Fairfield 5-11. St. Peter's 4-11. UMKC defeats Cal Baptist 84-68. UMKC 7-10. Cal Baptist is 9-7. FAU defeats Old Dominion 80-73. FAU 11-5. Old Dominion 11-5. Central Connecticut State defeats Fairleigh Dickinson 103-96 in double overtime. Central Connecticut 7-9. Fairleigh Dickinson 6-9. St. Francis, Pennsylvania defeats LIU Brooklyn 74-67. St. Francis 6-8. LIU 7-8. Wagner defeats Sacred Heart 76-73. Wagner 7-7. Sacred Heart 6-10. Texas State defeats Coastal Carolina 65-61. Texas State 13-3. Coastal Carolina 7-8. UT Arlington defeats Appalachian State 82-72. UTA 5-11. Appalachian State's 5-11 as well. Georgia Southern defeats UL Monroe 79-78. Georgia Southern 10-6. UL Monroe 9-6. Georgia State defeats Louisiana 89-76. Georgia State 10-4. Louisiana 10-6. Winthrop defeats Campbell 90-86. Winthrop 10-5. Campbell 8-8. Hampton defeats Charleston Southern 94-82. Hampton 6-8. Charleston Southern 6-9. High Point defeats Presbyterian 74-58. High Point 9-7. Presbyterian 9-8. Longwood defeats UNC Asheville 67-62. Longwood 11-6. UNC Asheville 2-14. Radford defeats South Carolina Upstate 79-72. Radford 10-6. South Carolina Upstate 5-12. Bryant defeats Mount St. Mary's 66-59. Bryant 5-9. Mount St. Mary's 3-13. IUPUI defeats Cleveland State 90-74. IUPUI is 10-7. Cleveland State's 5-13. Detroit Mercy defeats Green Bay 101-83. Detroit Mercy 7-10. Green Bay 9-8. Furman defeats VMI 89-57. Furman 15-2. VMI 6-10. Wofford defeats UNC Greensboro big 72-43. Wofford 13-4. UNC Greensboro 14-3. That's an impressive win for Wofford. East Tennessee State defeats the Citadel 98-73. East Tennessee State 14-4. Citadel 9-6. Mercer defeats Western Carolina 84-80. Mercer 6-10. Western Carolina 4-14. Purdue Fort Wayne defeats Oral Roberts 94-69. Purdue Fort Wayne 12-7. Oral Roberts 7-12. Milwaukee defeats Oakland 67-64. Milwaukee 7-10. Oakland 7-11. FIU defeats Charlotte 69-66. FIU 11-5. Charlotte 3-11. Little Rock defeats Troy 73-59. Little Rock 6-10. Troy 8-7. Louisiana Tech defeats UAB 64-53. Tech 12-5. UAB 10-6. Belmont defeats Morehead State 77-60. Belmont 11-3. Morehead 4-12. Number 2 Michigan defeats Illinois 79-69. Michigan 16-0. Illinois 4-12. CSU Bakersfield defeats Rio Grande Valley 75-69. Cal State Bakersfield's 11-5. Rio Grande is 9-9. Arkansas State defeats South Alabama 66-65. Arkansas State 8-8. South Alabama 9-7. Southern Miss defeats Middle Tennessee 77-70. Southern Miss 9-7. Middle Tennessee 3-13. South Dakota State defeats Denver 78-66. South Dakota State 13-6. Denver 5-14. Omaha defeats North Dakota 92-91. Omaha 9-8. North Dakota 7-10. North Dakota State defeats Western Illinois 85-69. North Dakota State 8-10. Western Illinois is 6-11. UIC defeats Youngstown State 78-63. UIC 8-9. Youngstown State 5-13. UTSA defeats Rice 95-79. UTSA 9-7. Rice 7-10. Jacksonville State defeats Eastern Illinois 69-62. Jacksonville State 11-5. Eastern Illinois 9-7. Eastern Kentucky drops to Tennessee State 82-81 as Tennessee State improves to 4-11. Eastern Kentucky drops to 7-9. Murray State defeats UT Martin 98-77. Murray State improves to 12-2. UT Martin drops to 5-9. Tennessee Tech defeats SIU Edwardsville 78-69 in overtime. Tennessee Tech 6-10. SIU Edwardsville 5-10. Austin Peay defeats Southeast Missouri State 78-60. Austin Peay 11-5. Southeast Missouri State 6-10. Nebraska defeats Penn State 70-64. Nebraska gets its first Big Ten win. They're 12-4. Penn State 7-9. BYU defeats Portland 79-56. BYU 10-8. Portland drops to 7-10. Memphis defeats East Carolina 78-72. Memphis improves to 10-6. ECU drops to 8-7. New Mexico State defeats Grand Canyon 77-75. New Mexico State 12-4. Grand Canyon 9-7. Colorado defeats Washington State 92-60. Colorado 10-5. Washington State 7-8. UCLA defeats Oregon 87-84 in overtime. UCLA 10-6. Oregon 9-6. Robert Morris defeats St. Francis Brooklyn 52-49. Robert Morris 8-8. St. Francis Brooklyn 9-7. North Texas defeats UTEP 58-51. North Texas 16-1. UTEP 5-9. Eastern Washington defeats Montana 78-71. That's a pretty big upset. Eastern Washington 4-12. Montana 10-6. Montana State defeats Idaho 77-67. Montana State 7-8. Idaho 4-12. Washington defeats Utah 69-53. Washington 11-4. Utah 7-8. UC Irvine defeats UC Davis 71-69 in overtime. UC Irvine 13-4. UC Davis 4-11. Number 5 Gonzaga defeats Pacific 67-36. Gonzaga killing everybody. They're 15-2. Pacific's 10-8. Santa Clara defeats Pepperdine 67-64. Santa Clara 10-7. Pepperdine 8-9. And Oregon State defeats USC 79-74 in overtime. Oregon State 10-4. USC 9-7. Slim slate tonight at 7 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. You have number 22 Indiana at Maryland. I think Maryland needs this game, so I think Maryland will win, but Indiana will cover the 5.5 because they have the best player on the court in this game in Joshua Langford. Ryder at Canisius. Iona at Niagara. Siena at Marist on ESPNU. On ESPN2, you have Wright State at Northern Kentucky. And at 9 o'clock on Fox Sports 1, you have Purdue at Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin wins and covers the 3 easily. And in terms of the ESPNU game, Siena and Marist, that's the MAAC. I think the winner of that game will be Marist. And I don't feel good about them covering the 3. That is a weird number. But I'm going to say they cover it. And then Northern Kentucky is going to cover the number against Wright State. They're favored by 5. So let's move on to the NBA. 4 games last night. The Heat defeat the Celtics 115-99. An impressive win for the Miami Heat and a letdown of a game for the Boston Celtics. Miami's 20-20. Boston drops to 25-16. Dwayne Wade led the Heat in scoring 19 points off the bench, including 3 3-pointers. He usually plays well against the Celtics throughout his career. The rest of the bench, Tyler Johnson at 11. Daniel Jones Jr. had 14. In terms of the starters, James Johnson at 12. Justice Winslow at 13 with 11 assists and 7 boards. He's an improving player this year. And Josh Richardson at 18. Kyrie Irving had 22 with 5 assists and 5 boards. Marcus Smart had 18. Jason Tatum and Marcus Morris each had 17. Boston bench didn't do anything. The Nuggets defeat the Clippers 121-100. Good win for Denver. Top seed in the West right now. They're 28-12. Clippers are 24-17. Jamal Murray had 23 points and 6 boards. Nikola Jokic, 18 points, 14 boards, 10 assists. Torrey Craig had 14. Malik Beasley had 15. Off the bench, Mason Plumlee had 17. And Monte Morris had 14. Daniel Gallinari and Tobias Harris each had 18. Montrezl Harrell off the bench had 16, and Lou Williams off the bench had 19. The Spurs defeat the Thunder 154-147 in double overtime. This was a great game last night on TNT. I was actually wrong with the announcers on TNT. On my podcast yesterday, said that Marv Albert would be calling the Spurs Thunder game and Kevin Harlan be calling the Celtics Heat game, but I was wrong. It was Marv Albert on the Celtics Heat and Kevin Harlan on Oklahoma City, San Antonio. That was my mistake. San Antonio's 25-18. Oklahoma City drops to 25-16. LaMarcus Aldridge, 56 points and 9 boards. Fantastic performance by Aldridge. DeMar DeRozan had 16 with 11 assists and 8 boards. Bryn Forbes had 14. Derek White had 23. Off the bench, Davis Bertans had 12, Patty Mills had 14, and Marco Bellinelli had 19, including 5 3-pointers. Paul George had 30 with 8 boards. Jeremy Grant had 25 and 12 boards, and a lot of offensive rebounds, too. Steven Adams had 19 with 7 boards. Russell Westbrook, 24 points, 24 assists, and 13 boards. He had another triple-double. Terrence Ferguson, 21 points, all 3-pointers. And Dennis Schroeder off the bench had 14. The Kings defeat the Pistons 112-102. The Kings go to 21-21. Detroit 17-23. Buddy Hield at 18. Willie Cauley-Stein had 14 with 14 boards. Amon Shumpert had 13. De'Aaron Fox had 12. Marvin Bagley had 10 off the bench. Harry Giles had 14 off the bench. Yogi Ferrell had 11 off the bench. Bruce Brown and Reggie Bullock each had 15. Andre Drummond had 12. Blake Griffin did not play in this game. Stanley Johnson had 16. Tonight's slate, at 7 o'clock, you have the Hawks at the 76ers. At 7 o'clock as well, you have the Bucks and the Wizards. 7:30, the Nets at the Raptors. ESPN, the Pacers at the Knicks. This is a trap game for the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers this season, I feel like, have played down to their opponents, especially the bad teams from the East, including the Knicks and the Bulls, especially at the United Center this year. The Bulls took them to overtime once, and they needed an almost buzzer beater by the Bulls to avoid a loss in Chicago earlier in the season. The Pacers probably should have lost to the Knicks on Halloween night at Madison Square Garden. I'm tempted to call Knicks outright upset on the podcast, but I don't have the balls to do it. I'm going to say that Indiana wins the game by 5 points, and it comes down to free throws at the end. Victor Oladipo at the line, shooting clutch free throws for Indiana. The Knicks easily cover, but the Pacers get the win, and it'll be Mike Breen and Doris Burke on the call on ESPN tonight, which doesn't surprise me at all. Usually when the Knicks get a home game on ESPN, it's usually Mike Breen, because he's their own announcer. 8 o'clock, the Cavaliers at the Rockets, the Mavericks at the Timberwolves. 10 o'clock on ESPN, the Lakers at the Jazz. Utah's an 8-point favorite. I think that's too high. I think the Lakers can win this game outright, but I don't want to pull the plug on it and call Lakers outright upset. I just think the Jazz are playing pretty well right now. I think Utah wins, but the Lakers cover the number. I think Kyle Kuzma has another big game. Brandon Ingram will play well. They'll keep the Lakers in it. It'll come down to free throws at the end and Donovan Mitchell making clutch shots. I think both of these games tonight on ESPN are going to be decent, even though one of the bad teams in the league and the Knicks will be in the doubleheader. But I think they'll show up tonight. Fizdale usually gets them up for contenders. And in terms of Lakers, Jazz, the Lakers have been playing a little better since Kyle Kuzma's been back in the lineup, even though they still don't have LeBron. I think Lakers cover, but the Jazz win. I think that's a 4-point Utah win. And then Hornets at the Blazers, and at 10:30, the Bulls are at the Warriors. NHL was a big slate last night. The Islanders defeat the Rangers 4-3. Islanders go to 24-14-4. New York drops to 17-19-7. Number 1 star of the game with a goal and 2 assists, Matthew Barzal. Number 2 star of the game with a goal, Josh Bailey. Number 3 star of the game with a goal, Jesper Fast. The Capitals defeat the Bruins 4-2. Washington goes to 27-12-4. Boston drops to 25-15-4. Number 1 star of the game with 39 saves on 41 shots, Braden Holtby. Number 2 star of the game with a goal, Ryan Donato. Number 3 star of the game with 2 goals, Alex Ovechkin. The Maple Leafs defeat the Devils 4-2. Toronto goes to 28-13-2. The Devils drop to 16-20-7. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals and an assist, John Tavares. Number 2 star of the game with a goal, Blake Coleman. Number 3 star of the game with an assist, Zach Hyman. The Flyers defeat the Stars 2-1. Big win for Philadelphia, 16-22-6 on the year. Dallas goes to 23-18-4. Number 1 star of the game, 37 saves on 38 shots, Corey Hart. Number 2 star of the game with a goal and assist, James Van Riemsdyk. Number 3 star of the game with a goal, Travis Coency. The Blue Jackets defeat the Predators 4-3 in overtime. Columbus goes to 25-15-3. Nashville goes to 25-15-4. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals, Artemi Panarin. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals, Boone Jenner. Number 3 star of the game with a goal and an assist, Matthias Elkholm. The Lightning defeat the Hurricanes 3-1. Tampa Bay 34-8-2 on the year. Carolina drops to 20-18-5. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals and an assist, Braden Point. Number 2 star of the game with 26 saves on 27 shots, Andre Vasilevsky. Number 3 star of the game with 27 saves on 29 shots, Peter Mrazek. The Blues defeat the Canadiens 4-1. St. Louis goes to 18-20-4. Montreal drops to 23-17-5. Number 1 star of the game with 28 saves on 29 shots, Jordan Binnington. Number 2 star of the game with the goal and an assist, Oscar Sundqvist. And the number 3 star of the game with the goal, Jay Baumeister. The Wild defeat the Jets 3-2. The Wild go to 22-18-3. Winnipeg goes to 27-14-2. Number 1 star of the game with 2 assists, Jared Spurgeon. Number 2 star of the game with the goal, Jason Zucker. Number 3 star of the game with 26 saves on 28 shots, Devin Dubnyk. The Oilers defeat the Panthers 4-3 in a shootout. Big win for Edmonton. They are 21-20-3 on the year. Florida drops to 17-17-8. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals and an assist, Connor McDavid. Number 2 star of the game with a goal and assist, Darnell Nurse. Number 3 star of the game with 2 assists, Leon Draisaitl. The Coyotes defeat the Canucks 4-3 in overtime. The Coyotes go to 19-21-3. Vancouver drops to 20-21-5. Number 1 star of the game with 2 goals, Sven Barteschi. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals and an assist, Richard Panik. Number 3 star of the game, didn't have a point but just had a good game, Nicholas Chalmerson. The Sharks defeat the Golden Knights 3-2 as San Jose goes to 26-13-7. Vegas drops to 27-16-4. Number 1 star of the game with 36 saves on 38 shots, Martin Jones. Number 2 star of the game with a goal, Thomas Nosek. Number 3 star of the game with a goal, John Morrill. The Senators defeat the Kings 4-1. Back-to-back wins for Ottawa on the West Coast as they go to 17-23-5. Kings drop to 17-25-3. Number 1 star of the game with 33 saves on 34 shots, Anders Nielsen. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals, Chris Tierney. Number 3 star of the game with a goal, Kyle Clifford. Only 4 games on the slate tonight in the NHL. You have at 7:30 the Sabres at the Hurricanes, 8 o'clock the Red Wings at the Jets, 9 o'clock the Panthers at the Flames, and 10 o'clock the Penguins at the Ducks. I was going to do NBA Power Rankings today, but there's a lot of baseball stuff that broke that I think are more important. We'll do NBA Power Rankings on tomorrow's podcast. DJ LeMahieu signs with the New York Yankees, 2 years, $24 million. This all but tells you that they are out on Manny Machado. DJ LeMahieu will be used as a utility player for them, whether it's third base, second base, or first base. I don't mind the signing for them. He's a good defensive player. He's won a couple batting titles. But the only way the signing can be bad is if DJ LeMahieu doesn't produce like he did in Colorado and would prove to be a Coors product. But even if he hit somewhere in the 270s and hit 25 homers and drove in 75 runs, I think that'd be pretty good for them. I do think his home run numbers will go up with the short porch and right in Yankee Stadium. So I don't think that's a bad signing for them. I think it's a pretty good one. Improves their defense in the infield, which was one of their weaknesses as of right now. This improves their lineup. He's a contact hitter, not a strikeout hitter, and the Yankees are full of strikeout hitters. So a good signing for them. Brian Dozier signs a 1-year, $9 million contract with the Washington Nationals. I think that is an absolute steal for them. I think he'll help them offensively. He's a player that hit over 30 home runs a couple times. He had a bad year last year. I do think he's a candidate to bounce back and have a big year in another contract year for him. Jed Lowry signs a 2-year, $20 million contract with the New York Mets. Another signing that surprised me, as well as LeMahieu's. Lowry, like LeMahieu, will play all different positions for the Mets. He could play shortstop, he could play second, he can play third. What does this mean for the future of young shortstop Ahmed Rosario or the future of Todd Frazier? A lot of people are speculating that the Mets may trade Todd Frazier and his $9 million salary, or I should say $9 million a year. But I do think this is a good signing for New York Mets, as he is a player that has been good the past few years with a lot of power. So I'm interested to see how LeMahieu and Lowry fit in New York. College football news that broke today. Bryce Love tore his ACL in December. This just came out today. I think this absolutely hurts his draft stock. I thought he was a sleeper to go in the second or the third round. This might even push him to the fourth or the fifth round. And somebody's going to get a steal with this guy because he was a really good running back in college these past couple years. Not this past year, I'm saying in the 2017 season and even the 2016 season when he backed up Christian McCaffrey. And I wonder if a team will take a chance on him in the third round. But I do think he'll end up being a fourth or fifth round pick for sure. Now I'm going to go to my NFL picks for the division round of the playoffs. We're going to start it tomorrow evening when the Kansas City Chiefs host the Indianapolis Colts on NBC. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Michelle Tafoya will be on the call. The Colts are coming off an excellent performance in Houston against the Texans in the wild card round. The Chiefs had a first-round bye and have home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. Both of these offenses are lights out with solid offensive lines, with MVP favorite Patrick Mahomes leading the way for the Chiefs and the rejuvenated Andrew Luck leading the way for the Colts. The Chiefs' defense is perhaps the worst among the playoff teams that are left, and the Colts' defense is unproven because they haven't seen an offense as good as the Chiefs. This game will have a ton of points scored, and it's bound to be a close game, and I like Mahomes and that offense to lead the way for the Chiefs in their home building. So, Kansas City 34, Indianapolis 31. So I'm taking the Chiefs to win, but the Indianapolis Colts to cover the +5. 4-seeded Dallas Cowboys at the 2-seeded Los Angeles Rams, 8:15 on Fox. It's either going to be Joe Buck or Kevin Burkhardt doing the play-by-play. If it's Buck, it'd obviously be Buck, Troy Aikman, and Aaron Andrews or Chris Myers. Or if it's Burkhardt, it'll be him, Charles Davis, and Pam Oliver. The Cowboys are coming off a win in the wild card round against the Seattle Seahawks, in which Dak Prescott was clutch throwing and running the football, and the defense made key stops. The Rams had a first-round bye in the NFC playoffs, and it's a good thing they got that, as Todd Gurley wasn't, and maybe still isn't healthy. The Rams' passing game has not been the same since Cooper Kupp was lost for the season, but C.J. Anderson did a solid job running the football in Gurley's absence, and I have a feeling he'll be hurt from in this game. The Cowboys' defense is perhaps the most underrated unit among the playoff teams, but I'm not sure how once their once vaunted offensive line will stop Aaron Donald on the Rams' interior. There will be Cowboy fans in the building, but I think the Rams win courtesy of Donald and a healthier Gurley and Anderson in the running game. So give me the Rams 27-24. So Rams win straight up, but the Cowboys cover the +7. Sunday, the 5th-seeded AFC Los Angeles Chargers against the 2-seeded New England Patriots, 1 o'clock on CBS. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson on the call. The Chargers are coming off a good performance, especially on the defensive end in Baltimore against the Ravens in the wild card round. The Patriots had a first-round bye in the playoffs, but it'll be determined on Sunday whether it works out for them or not because they clearly haven't been as good as years past on the offensive side of the ball, despite putting up points against two bad teams in their division the last 2 weeks of the regular season. Tom Brady finally began to show his age this season, and Rob Gronkowski is past his prime. Meanwhile, the Chargers have athletes on both sides of the ball. Defense with Derwin James and Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. And with offense, you have Rivers throwing the ball to Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. They get Hunter Henry off the IR. That'll be a big addition to their offense. I do think Rivers is motivated to finally come through against the Pats. Give me the Chargers to pull off the road upset. 27-20 Chargers. I think they cover the 4 easily and win outright. NFC 6-seeded Philadelphia Eagles against the New Orleans Saints. Your 1 seed, 4:40 on Fox. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews on the call. Unless if it's Burkhardt and Charlie Davis and Pam Oliver. We shall see. I have a feeling that Kevin Burkhardt gets the Rams game and Joe Buck gets the Saints. But it's funny because I thought that a week ago or earlier in the week that Joe Buck would get the Cowboy game and Kevin Burkhardt would get the Saints game. But now that I think about it, I think it's more realistic that Joe Buck gets the Saints and Kevin Burkhardt gets the Rams because Kevin Burkhardt's a West Coast guy. So here we go. The Eagles are coming off a last-second win in the wild card round over the Chicago Bears, courtesy of a Cody Parkey missed field goal as time expired. But shortly before that, Nick Foles threw a go-ahead touchdown pass to give the Eagles the lead. The Saints got a much-needed first-round bye and have home field advantage in the NFC playoffs. Drew Brees and the Saints offense hasn't been the same since before that Thursday night loss in Jerry World, and the banged-up Eagles defense is just what the doctor will order for the Saints offense to get back on track. Give me the Saints in the Superdome in a game where Foles and the Eagles offense will give it their all in. So New Orleans 23, Philadelphia 16. Yes, I do have another underdog covering the point spread, so I do think that the underdogs will be 8-0 after Sunday night in the playoffs. But 3 of the favorites went outright in New Orleans, LA Rams, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now my best bet of the day brought to you by DraftKings. It's just going to be NBA and NHL tonight. The 76ers, they're playing the Hawks. The Raptors, they're playing the Brooklyn Nets. The Rockets are playing the Cavaliers. The Blazers are playing the Charlotte Hornets. The Warriors are playing the Chicago Bulls. You could argue that the Pacers belong in there because they're playing the Knicks, but I think that's a trap game and New York can win that game. And you could argue even Utah belongs in there against the Lakers, but I don't mind this Lakers team without LeBron James as long as their young guys are all healthy, like Kuzma and Hart and Ball and Ingram. So I left the Jazz and the Pacers off of this, but I know I'm going to probably wind up regretting it in the end. Although I do think both of those teams will win straight up. But I just fear that Knicks get up for tonight at home after their West Coast trip. And Utah's had some weird losses this year. And the Lakers are going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder a little bit. And in hockey, I like the Winnipeg Jets to win straight up. And I believe they're playing the Detroit Red Wings. And I also like the Calgary Flames to win straight up as well. Yes, the Red Wings are at the Jets, and then the Flames are hosting the Panthers. I do not trust the Red Wings or the Panthers to get road wins against 2 playoff teams in the Flames and the Jets, respectively. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping NBA, NHL, and college hoops. Look ahead to tomorrow's slate and all those games. A lot of big college games tomorrow that we'll get into in basketball. Any MLB news that breaks, I'll give it to you. And I also have my best bet for tomorrow as well. And we'll get more into tomorrow's playoff games in the NFL. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.